Welcome to the I Am One podcast, where we chat with Postpartum Support International volunteers to discuss why and how exactly they're supporting the mental health of new families. I'm your host, Danny Giddens. I'm a perinatal mental health certified advocate, a support group leader in my community, and a staff member here at PSI. Hearing one person's story on a podcast changed the trajectory of my life. It was the catalyst to me opening up about my undiagnosed postpartum anxiety, depression, and OCD, processing my own trauma, and realizing that advocacy is my life's work. I'm joined by my co-host, Emily Jankowski Newton.
It's me. I'm the co-host,
Director of PSI's Climb Out of the Darkness program. We've discovered that there is strength in processing trauma and empowerment in sharing stories.
So that's what we're here to do. Our guests will take us on their journey from pregnancy or adoption through their low on to getting help and finding themselves again. And finally, how they're making a difference today. As I always say, it's the coolest club you didn't want to join, because being a part of PSI means we went through something. And as a result, I've become connected to the coolest, kindest, most fun people that I would have otherwise never had the chance to meet.
One of the most important things that we've learned is that we're not alone. There's something powerful in knowing I am one of many. Whether you're already connected to the perinatal mental health world, looking for ways to support parents and families, or just want to hang out with us in your earbuds, we're so glad you tuned in.
And who knows, maybe we'll hear from you next.
On today's episode, we're sitting down with Emily Jankowski Newton, Director of PSI's Climb Out of the Darkness program and wearer of almost all the PSI volunteer hats. She is an outspoken perinatal mental health advocate and climb leader for life. Emily is the ultimate outside-the-box thinking dreamer of all the big dreams who loves nothing more than to manifest that-ish. Hey, this is a family show. Let's just say she likes making things happen. So please, assume your preferred podcast listening position and prepare to enjoy Emily's story of postpartum anxiety, depression, and OCD, getting the help that she needed, and finding her people. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the I Am One podcast are the speaker's own. Tuning into this podcast is not a replacement for therapy or any other form of professional help. Our discussions cover personal stories of perinatal mood and anxiety disorders and may feel triggering to some listeners. Your number one priority is to take care of yourself. So if you are in need of help, please reach out to the PSI helpline by calling or texting HELP to 1-800-944-4773 for help in English and in Spanish. At PSI, we want you to know you are not alone, you are not to blame, and with help, you will be well. Okay, let's get on with the podcast. Emily.
Danny.
Welcome back to the pod, my friend.
Thanks.
I am so happy to be sitting here chatting with you about all things Emily this morning.
This is a dangerous topic.
Oh, yeah. This is really dangerous.
Danger zone.
You know, in episode 1, you gave all of us a little flavor, a little amuse-bouche, if you will. Today, we're getting treated to a little deeper dive, and we may even get to talk about some feelings today. Who knows?
Oh, God. Okay, I'm ready. I can do this.
So anyway, thank you for being here with us and being willing to share a bit more of your lived experience.
Happy to share. Sharing is caring, as I say.
So, Emily, would you please introduce the you that we may not see on your resume?
Not on my resume. Okay. My name is Emily. I live in Maryland. I have 3 kids, a teen and 2 tweens. My house smells bad. Like
real bad.
For real. I get really excited when there's a new bird at the bird feeder. For real, I do. I live in Maryland. I have yet to see an Oriole in real life. I refuse to believe that they exist. I have several Facebook friends who are climb leaders who post pictures of Orioles in other states.
That's just rude.
It's so rude. Like, I want to talk to the Orioles that live in Illinois and Indiana and ask them to please get on a bus Get over here.
Quick flyby.
So I like birds. I have chickens for real.
How many chickens do you have?
I have 11 chickens. I've had chickens for, I want to say like 5 or 6 years now. This was not like a pandemic panic decision. This was I really want farm fresh eggs, which by the way is way more expensive than buying farm fresh eggs at the grocery store, in case there's anyone out there trying to like math that out. It's not going to work. Like some of that is outset cost, the initial cost to like get into the chicken biz.
The entree to the game.
Chicken feed is expensive. Yeah. Yeah. And my chickens are picky. Like they're kind of fancy ladies.
Uh-huh. That definitely was not on your resume.
Happy to help.
Nice. So you are a mom of 3.
Yep.
Never have seen an Oreo.
Nope. I do eat Oreos though.
Oh.
Which is a whole different thing.
But we digress.
Per usual.
Yes. Well, can you talk to us a little bit about the role that perinatal mood and anxiety disorders have played in your life?
Yeah. So before my first kid was born, I was like, okay, listen, birth is like a sport. Like I just have to train for it. And then I'm going to win this. Like I really thought that a completely natural, unmedicated birth was the pinnacle of birthing success. Spoiler alert, it is not. I got really deep into all of these mom forums on like, do you remember when you were planning your wedding, if you planned your wedding in like the early aughts, as it were, and you were like on the knot and like looking up, right?
Flashback.
A million years ago when the knot was the bee's knees. It might still be. I apologize. I don't know. I'm just old now.
We're old. Is it still cool? I don't know.
But then they had one page on it that was called something about babies. It was like babies on the brain or something like that. And I was like, I mean, I'm totally going to do that eventually. So I should just, feel it out. And a lot of what was on there was, in hindsight, very harmful messaging that I took to be like gospel truth about if you have this type of birth where there's no medical intervention of any kind, like you could very well be giving birth anywhere and have the same birth experience as in a hospital, right? But other than being present in a medical facility, that's the only medical participation. That would make breastfeeding easier. Honestly, I probably believed that it would make like my kids smarter or something. You know what I mean? Like just all of these harmful parenting untruths. Maybe they're based in some anecdotal something that someone has experienced, but like it's not everyone's journey. But I was like, I bought all in. And then 6 months after my husband and I got married, we got pregnant by accident. Spoiler alert, that's a risk factor. Unplanned pregnancy, risk factor. Also, fun fact, risk factor, having a hard time getting pregnant. Like we cannot win. Doesn't matter where we land on this. Doesn't matter for the person whether they get pregnant by accident or have a hard time getting pregnant. Both are risk factors for PMEDs or for perinatal mental health complications or for having a baby and feeling sad. Anyway, so the more direct route to the conclusion of this very long story. Long story short, too late.
We're only going to have 3 questions today.
Yeah, it's fine. Is after my son was born, I was fixated on what did not go the way I wanted it to go about the birth, to the point where I had to discuss it every day, which is OCD. That's how mine presented, was that I had to discuss what we would do differently, what was not what we wanted it to be, usually until I couldn't talk about it anymore. And then I would wake up the next day. And then start again. It was like Groundhog Day for 2 years of just having to rehash over and over and over. But because I had a birth that I think objectively was pretty traumatic, I was like, oh, well, it's all tied to that. Like it's not like a me thing or like a chemical imbalance thing. This is just the systems failed me in terms of labor and delivery and blah, blah, blah. My second son was born. I rode the high of a very different birth experience for a good 3 months. Like I was just, I don't know, they're tiny and they're squishy and like you don't have anywhere to go. You have nothing that you are obligated to do because you've just had a baby and everyone's like, oh, you just had a baby. You don't have to do things. At least in my world, that's how it worked out. And then like 3 months in, I was like, I'm very anxious still. I am very catastrophic thinking still. Like the content was a little different. The stuff that I was worried about was a little bit different, but it was like getting in the way of just normal life.
Like
I would drive around parking lots and then wait until the parking spaces where I didn't have to cross through the parking lot. And if you've ever been to a Trader Joe's, you know that there are like 3 parking spaces at that entire store, right?
Shout out Trader Joe's.
You should definitely be sponsoring us. And also you should have way more parking spaces.
Can we get a sponsor for Trader Joe's to improve their parking lots?
Right?
Call us.
Right? I would like sit and wait in the parking lot of Trader Joe's until the spaces where I didn't have to cross through the parking lot with the 2 kids would open. Because I felt that that was going to prevent some bad thing happening in the parking lot from happening. And my midwives were like, so have you met postpartum anxiety? And I was like, oh, hey.
Is that their name?
Yeah, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
So after your first birth, you were undiagnosed.
Oh,
you were experiencing the things. Didn't know what to call it. Baby number 2 comes along. You were introduced to postpartum anxiety.
Right. We got acquainted.
So you reached out to somebody or?
Well, so I was going to a different doctor through a different hospital the second time around. I had a midwifery practice the first time and a midwifery practice the second time. Shout out to midwives. You guys are the bee's knees. But
shout out.
Different midwifery practices are different. And so the one that I had gone to the second time around was through a birth center, but I still delivered at the hospital because I was a vaginal birth after cesarean, or VBAC for short.
VBAC?
And that meant that like I wasn't allowed to deliver at the birth center.
Oh, okay.
For liability reasons, blah, blah, blah. I won't get into how I feel about that other than to say, I don't agree.
Okay. You're allowed to have feelings about that.
This new group, like instead of waiting, you know, you have a baby and then like 6 weeks goes by and they're like, okay, come in and we'll make sure that like, I don't know.
Your vagina works.
You're cleared for sex because apparently that is like the most critical thing to be concerned with. Yeah. 4 days after I came home from the hospital with my second kid, a nurse from the midwifery practice called and was like, hey, wanted to check in. How are you doing? And I was like, what? I was so floored by this like alternate version of protocols. And I was like, I'm good. I mean, I'm a little, you know, tired, but I'm good. And then like 2 weeks later, they called again and they were like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, still good. I got to my 6-week appointment and I was like, I may be calling you for a Zoloft prescription at some point, but that's to be determined. TBD. Get back to me on that.
So that was your entree into the conversation with them about maybe not being okay.
Yeah. They were like, we're here. Whenever you feel like whatever your symptoms are getting in the way of normal stuff, going to the grocery store, sleeping, eating, blah, 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 call us. I was like, okay. And I called and they were like, yeah, that sounds like postpartum anxiety. Maybe a little depression. We have a great nurse practitioner we want you to meet with. She was amazing. She had apparently this woman's like trajectory into this was just fantastic. She was like a birth doula and then a postpartum doula. And then she was a midwife. And then she became a PA because she realized where it was really at was like people needed access to medication and or sort of nutritional. And now she's doing this like holistic thing. So she's like recommending, in addition to the medications that she still prescribes me to this day, cool vitamins that I think are all good and helping in my case. But yeah, that was a long story.
That was fine. What was it like after baby numero 3?
It was way more like business as usual. Like the adjustment from 1 to 2 was hard. The adjustment from 0 to 1, I think for me was the hardest. Third kid, I was like, listen, it's already chaotic here. what is one more? It's fine. By then it was like my expectations of how perfect my birth experience was going to be, or how perfect my house was going to be, or how perfect, I don't know, our nutrition on the daily was going to be, had all shifted into like a much more normal realm. You know, like my oldest kid was not allowed to have sugar for 2 years.
I don't think you're alone in that.
The second kid came out and I was like, here's a lollipop. Like, I am not dying on this hill anymore. I'm sorry. Like policing what they can eat. Oh my goodness. And I'm not saying like put Diet Coke in a sippy cup. Please don't do that. That's weird.
Yeah, we do not condone that.
But
we just weren't focused on to the point that it was causing you distress.
Yes. I was getting in my own way of enjoying parenting.
Third time around, you were receiving help, or at least you knew where to reach out if you were probably on medication still.
No, that would have been smart.
Okay. This podcast is generously sponsored by, well, we don't have a sponsor yet. But if you or a business you know is interested in cranking up the volume on perinatal mental health advocacy, let's talk. Please reach out to us at cotd@postpartum.net, and together we can light up the darkness for parents and families around the world. So there you are with 3 littles. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about how you first, I guess, at that point, Climb Out of the Darkness was not a program of PSI, but tell us a little bit about finding ways to connect with support outside of the midwifery clinic.
Yeah.
Connecting with peers and getting involved in your community that way.
So like I had a local moms group. We all met through the hospital. I'm still friends with these people. They're amazing.
That's really cool. Thanks.
They did not all have like a mental health complication after delivery. It was just like we all had our first child within a couple of months of each other. Like that was the criteria, which meant that I had a great group of fellow moms whose kids were going through the same stuff at the same time. Like we as parents were not necessarily going through the same stuff at the same time.
But there are intersections though in different areas.
Yes.
And that's often key, right? Having somebody who gets something.
It was very helpful, but it was also sometimes like, I don't know. And we as a group did not really do this to each other, but like there were times where because I didn't put my kids to sleep until they were already unconscious, hearing them cry was like super triggering for me. It was like I felt like hot and like panicky and like I just couldn't do it. But they could, which is not a judgment at all of them. It was like I was jealous that it was easier. Like bedtime was less of a dramatic will they or won't they in their house, where in mine, it was like, you know, I'm trying to like extricate an arm from underneath a child and then like tuck and roll to the door in the dark.
Oh, those matrix moves to get out of the bedroom.
Yeah.
and not let the door handle release.
Yes. And I think because I didn't have the words to describe how frustrating that was, it was the right decision for us as parents because my husband was the same way. Like hearing the kids cry was very triggering. Like neither of us could handle it. We didn't have one parent that was like, I'll take this one. Like, you know, go be somewhere else while I handle the difficult situation. We were both like, I can't. But so trying to articulate that was hard, but that it was the right choice for us always came out of my mouth. Like, why isn't it easier? And what I was really seeking, I think, was just the validation that generally parenting is a chaotic mess of difficultness mixed in with lots of cute baby and toddler. It is, it's a very mixed bag.
Yes.
And instead of just embracing that, or instead of like having the ability to just embrace that, I was looking for like solutions to a problem external to myself and perhaps a chemical imbalance in my own brain.
So you found something really cool going on in your community.
I did. I was plugged into a couple of like bloggers and like different, because, YouTube was in its infancy and TikTok did not exist. So like there was no like live video blogging of how hard parenting was. There were lots of mommy bloggers, a couple of daddy bloggers who were really good too, actually. And they started talking about this climb out of the darkness thing that was happening. And I was like, okay, so it's like a Komen walk, but like, it's like a go and you're at the walk and you're advocating for the cause, whatever the cause is. But it's like bring the kids and with the strollers and casual. And I was like, I have kids in a stroller. Like
I'm casual.
I am inherently very casual. I fit the criteria. So I like emailed the person who was like in charge of the organization that was running the climb. And I was like, I want to lead one. And they were like, there's one happening in Baltimore. And I was kind of like, at the time, I remember thinking, I wish I could just lead one like right here where I am, because Baltimore is like a little bit of a schlep. But the like secret reality was it allowed me to meet other moms. They were all moms, not because you have to be, but because they happened to be when I was there that day, who were going through this adjustment to parenting, maybe a mood disorder, maybe anxiety, maybe they just thought that parenting was hard and we should be really honest about that. And so I get there and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like 20 other moms here with kids who are equally bad behaved, who occasionally like you can like make eye contact and you're sort of having a conversation, but it's constantly getting interrupted because that's the nature of toddlers.
Oh yeah.
But you look at each other and you're like, this is a judgment-free zone. It's like my middle child had a full-on bulging vein in his neck meltdown in the middle of this thing. And the other moms were just like, oh, hey, did you want a bottle of water? For you, because we were just trying to take care of each other.
Yeah. Oh, how'd that feel? Trick question. So good, right?
Oh my God. I just got the chills. Like, honestly, when parents, moms, dads, non-binary, birthing people, I don't care. If you are currently a parent of alive babies, graduated from high school, adult babies, angel babies, it doesn't matter. You have this like caregiving thing that's living inside of you. When you get to direct that at another adult who can appreciate it in real time, that's magic. That for me was the introduction to the climb. And I was like, well, I am all in. Yep. Where do I sign? What are we doing next? And they're like, oh, this is a once a year event. And I was like,
one time a year.
Okay. Are we going to start planning the next one? They're like, it just happened last weekend. I'm like, and? Because it wasn't just about planning the next event. It was about like having a reason to either get together in person or to talk through email or online otherwise with these other parents about general parenting things, but also what were the problems where we lived that maybe we could have a little bit of a influence over or try to change or try to raise awareness about. And it was like the power was in each of our individual ability to talk about our lived experience, which the further away that I get from my own lived experience, which by the way is actually a lovely thing because it means that when other people tell their stories, I don't feel the memories of my own anymore. I don't feel it inside myself. It's like empathy that is not in any way triggering, which is really good. But hearing other people share their stories and also like creating spaces where other people can share those same stories or where other people can like curate a space where like your toddler can have a meltdown. Your toddler can, be a rocket scientist. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not about the toddler. It's about you, the parent. So few spaces are like that.
Yeah, that's true. So this is pretty unique, pretty special space to be in.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So you attended a climb the first year. Did you help plan the next few or something, or?
I just attended the first year. The second year, I was like, when are we starting fundraising? That sounds like a way that I can make a difference, right? Like I have friends and family who can donate $10 here and there, and then I can earn my t-shirt.
Yeah. So that was kind of like a therapeutic outlet.
Yeah. Okay. In a low commitment kind of way. I was already busy. There were children all over my house, like,
fishy crackers everywhere.
Right. I was surrounded by the chaos of tiny people.
All the cushions were off the couch.
Yeah. Always.
At all times.
Always. Sometimes they were riding them down the stairs. Sometimes I joined them. Don't judge me. It's fun. If you've never done that with your kids, zone. I'm just saying it's fun. I fundraised the next year. The year after that, the people who had been leading had sort of what I now call graduated, but at the time they were like, they needed to move on and like focus on the next stage of what their kids were doing. Which also means they got what they needed to out of it, which is cool.
And they gave a lot.
Oh God. Yeah.
They put something on and held space for you.
Yep. And then I got to pay it forward, which was cool.
And you were like, I'm ready.
Yes. Put me in, coach.
Pass the torch. Let's
exactly. So then I led the climb for 2 years. And then I sent this email to the person who was running the program. And I was like, I have this idea, this way that like the climb could sort of expand and like evolve a little bit. And the person who was running it was like, would you like to run the climb? And I was like, oh, this is what winning the lottery sounds like.
Emily, this is a family show. Just kidding. It's fine.
Oh,
bleep.
Yeah, like I was like, oh my God, I get to do this for like a job.
Yeah.
Sweet. So then a couple weeks later, that organization folded, and this is like the TLDR version. And then I, got a private Facebook message from our executive director, Wendy Davis.
Shout out.
And I was like, Wendy Davis knows who I am on Facebook? Like,
is this her or her assistant? No. It was the real deal.
And I was like, oh my God. I'm like going and yelling to my husband. I'm like, Wendy Davis knows who I am. And he's like, I don't know who that is.
He knows now though, Wendy. Don't worry.
He does. He does. I think they're better friends with each other than either of them are with me. And that's fine.
Okay.
I'm over it.
Clearly. She's totally fine.
I'm totally fine.
So you became the director of Climb Out of the Darkness at PSI.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, first I was the director of one. And then, I got this hot tip from this person who I'd led climbs with for a while. Her name is Samantha Konikoff.
Oh. We dropping names?
I'm dropping names.
Oh, snap.
And Sam was like, so there's this person who I think should work with you. She's really good. She's like passionate and organized and like she's ready. And I was like,
ready. Wow.
Okay. So then I got this phone number and I called and this person named Danny answered the phone. And I was like, hey, what's up? You want to work on that?
I was like completely panicking. Like breathing in a brown paper sack like Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory before the call. My palms were clammy. It was a whole vibe.
Mine were too.
I had not worked outside of our house for like 11 years. So it was a big deal.
Neither did I before I started doing this.
Yeah. Anyway, this is not about me, Emily. Jeez.
Oh.
So anyway, you became, the climb became a program of PSI. You were directing the program, running things. And I know that you have been involved with PSI in other capacities too. Like, haven't you volunteered in almost all the programs? Or, geez, what haven't you done?
I have never been a coordinator, actually.
Oh, there's an opportunity for that. Hey, E, I could drop the volunteer link for coordinators in the show notes for you.
Nice. I think that being a coordinator requires a level of organization that perhaps is not well suited to me as a human.
You're organized in some ways.
I am organized in some ways, but I feel like
totally spitballing here.
Totally spitballing. You probably have to delete this.
No, but Emily's an avid gardener. That's what I mean. She is at her desk at all hours, but midday, she sometimes might not be. If you got to get the seeds in the ground, you know what I'm saying?
Got to get the seeds in the ground.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah,
You volunteered in multiple capacities.
Yes,
at PSI.
I have never been a coordinator, but I have volunteered on the helpline.
Mm-hmm.
Usually by text. That felt more comfortable for me, which was awesome. That doing
That's really cool.
Texting was like, yeah.
Because I know for myself, I would feel much more comfortable texting with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like it's scarier to
That's because you're like a baby millennial. Okay, you're like a middle-aged millennial. I'm an elder millennial, but I should be okay with being on the phone, but I'm not. I don't know.
Okay.
Also, when you've got like kids in the background, it's I think that feels harder too. Yeah. I have been a peer mentor.
I think that is where I first saw your face because I was a peer mentor too.
I know.
She rolled into a peer mentor meeting like very laid back. And I was like, who is this? I had my notepad. I was very nervous, wanted to do all the things right. And she was like, hi, just got out of the shower. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, you were clothed, but that's not where I'm going with this. But yeah.
No, that's because like the person who runs the peer mentor program was a climb leader. So like I already knew her. And I feel like that to me is the part that I like the most about the climb, secondary only to being able to provide a space where people get to tell their story, is that like the climb is like the connection. The climb is the web that you're always like, oh, Danny, have you met so-and-so? This is how they're connected to this community. Oh, Emily, have you met so-and-so? This is how they're connected to the perinatal mental health community.
Or here's another twin mom, or you have your middles are the same age.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's like, that's something I really enjoy doing. I like walking up to people and being like, did you know that you have this in common? And then being like, discuss. Just like melting into the hedge like Homer Simpson. Because that's all people need is they need that starting off point to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And the climb is all about that. So
that's where it's at. So you've been here ever since.
I have been here ever since. You're a lifer. Oh, I'm a lifer.
You've had years where you've led climbs. You've taken a break. Am I getting that wrong? Or
my strategy is this. And I know I'm not the only veteran, longstanding climb leader who feels this way. It's sort of like if I have the bandwidth because I'm a little bit older, because my kids are a little bit more self-sufficient because they can pour their own cereal in the morning and things like that, then I can use that space that I have in my brain to help get things started. So like I went and booked like the local park pavilion near my house. And I was just like, I'm doing this. And then, no joke, 3 friends of mine who all have kids that are the same age as some of mine, but also have kids that are much, much younger, were like, I'm in. I want to do this with you. I want to co-lead. And I was like, all right, buckle up. Let's do this. Yeah. And I mean, I have no expectations about how this event is going to go, which I know sounds really weird as like the director of a program where like some climbs are very big and huge and have hundreds of people who plan to attend. If these 3 other families join my family at this park and we like, I don't know, pour paint over some pumpkins because it's happening in like October.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Then that's a win. We will be able to reconnect. That's a win. That's a climb. If each of them brought one other family, that would be 8 families who've all been touched by this. Yeah.
Which is a big deal. And for all of us math fanatics out there, 8 is greater than 0.
Yes.
so that's, holding space for people to get together and build community.
Exactly.
And, share some resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to each other, be real. Heck, maybe even fundraise a little bit or a lot of it.
I may challenge them. Some of these friends of mine do own their own businesses.
Okay.
One does like a horse thing and one does like a farm thing. I live in sort of like the ruralist part of the greater like Baltimore, DC metro area. Rural. But I'm like, if you're business owners, like, you know, one owns a business that like raises animals for food. So she knows the people who own the restaurants in the town that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so you're going to like put me in touch, right? Like,
do me a solid.
Like maybe they'll donate money. Maybe they'll let us come over and get cookies. Like, you know, after the, like, it doesn't have to be big. It can be, we're trying to entertain toddlers here. This is not rocket science. Like, you give them a cookie and a couple of crayons and they're having their best day ever. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And on the side, the parents can have a few minutes, maybe, of uninterrupted time because you're at a playground.
Yep.
You got the bubbles, you got the chalk, you got the crayons, you got the cookies. And that's just sometimes just the snippet of time that people need to find connection.
Yes.
And get connected to the help and resources that they might need. So, oh, wow.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
That's a great story, E.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing with us. Well, before we hop off, are you feeling up for a little lightning round action?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do this.
I should have thought of some questions that you haven't seen before.
I didn't read the questions in advance in classic Emily fashion.
You've asked the questions, but there's one in there that you might have not seen. So.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
Your favorite podcast besides this one?
Favorite podcast?
Yes.
It's political. Am I allowed to say that?
Sure. Do you want to? Sure. That's fine. Okay, then pick a different one.
Okay.
Oh, wait, that one's political too.
Yeah.
Give us your 10th favorite podcast, Emily. Besides this one.
Okay.
Are you looking at your podcast right now?
I literally am. Okay, first of all, let's zoom out.
Okay.
I actually really like podcasts. It is my preferred format of intaking information. So like I do my news as an audio format. I prefer books in audio format.
You're a book in your ear kind of a.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I listen to I've listened to books that are like, it's like you start it and it's like, this is 36 hours long. And I'm like, challenge accepted. Like, I feel like that book probably is like 4 inches thick and like the pages are that real thin paper.
It could kill a large rodent.
Probably.
Anyway.
Yeah, all of my regular listening podcasts do have a little bit of a political leaning. Not going to lie.
Hey, it's totally fine to be interested in.
Can I tell you my favorite name of a podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. The name of the podcast is Hysteria.
Oh.
It is hosted by women. Mm-hmm. And they talk about political issues that are impacting women today.
That's really cool.
But like, I get that naming it Hysteria is like a little bit of a I like that.
What's the for people who can't see?
I'm poking the bear, like sticking it to the man. I don't know.
Hysteria.
In conclusion, I am not good at lightning rounds. I'm fired.
Are you currently listening to a book or reading a book?
Yeah. Okay. So
recommendations.
There's a new show on Netflix called Lockwood and Co. And I watched like the first couple of episodes and then I saw in the intro that it was like adapted by blah, blah, blah. And I was like, adapted means book. Uh-huh. And so then I like get in there and I find the original author and the original series and I'm into it.
What's the genre?
I think it would fall under the category of fantasy, but it's like ghosts. So not really like wizards.
Scary ghosts.
Oh yeah, the ghosts are scary. The ghosts are bad. They are not good.
Thank you for that recommendation. I will not be checking that out, but for anybody who likes scary ghosts, please do.
Ooh, you know what you would like though?
What? What?
Children of Blood and Bone.
I'll consider it.
Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi. I I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Ayademi. Now, to be fair, I can't pronounce anyone's name correctly. But yeah, so good. Children of Blood and Bone. And there's two, and the third one's coming out soon. I've listened to the audiobook. My oldest child has read the books, the paper version. Because when I find a really good book, I buy the actual book, even though I listen to the audiobook because I can't help myself.
This was not on the list that I sent you. Well, actually it was, but I don't know if you saw it. I have a list of Emily-isms on my desk. I'm wondering which one's your favorite one. What's your favorite catchphrase that you use? What's your favorite thing to say on repeat? You have a lot of them.
I think you're onto something.
She says that a lot. Sometimes it can take on different meanings depending on her facial expressions, her tone, the time of day, the amount of coffee she's taken.
Yeah, sometimes it means
whether or not she's taken her medication.
What you're saying is directly connected to what I'm about to say. And sometimes it means we're about to go on a journey. And what you've just said has reminded me of something that is totally not at all related to where I'm going to go. But in my brain, it's all connected. Yeah.
I think you're onto something.
See?
Okay. Are you up for one or two more questions?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. What is your go-to for a mental break for yourself?
Oh, that's easy. Weeding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because weeding is like ripping out the plants that are not supposed to be there.
You can do something about that when maybe you feel like you can't do something about
something else.
Other things.
I think for me, it serves two purposes. One, even if you only do a tiny area, when you step back and look at it, you can see.
You're like, whoa.
You're like, whoa, look at that. I did that. Boom. Yeah. And then to me, the other part is like, it allows my body to do something that feels very productive while my brain sort of needs to mull over whatever it is that's bugging me.
Yes.
Before I'm able to decide how I really feel or decide if it requires action or whatever.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I am on team therapeutic weeding with you.
Yeah. Therapeutic weeding.
Heck yeah, for the win. Here's our last question, Emily.
Okay.
What's one way that you will show yourself a little bit of radical love today, my friend?
I mean, it is Valentine's Day.
Oh, happy Galentine's Day. Is it actually Galentine's Day before or after? Or is that just what you say to your
That's what
friend?
You say to your gals.
Okay.
I think. I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Is there a protocol?
I don't know. Or Palentine's. They don't have to identify as gals.
Palentine's.
Happy Palentine's Day. You heard it here first.
I have never. Did you make that up?
I just made that up right now.
Boom.
Second cup of coffee. The ideas are flowing.
Whoa.
I've never heard Palentine's Day before. It's probably on the internet.
No, trademark that.
Dang it. I got to bleep you again.
Are we surprised that we have to use the bleep on me? No, we should not be surprised.
So you're avoiding the question. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm looking at my calendar.
Okay.
My work day could hypothetically end at 3. And since I may have worked later last night than would be considered traditional or
/ appropriate. / healthy. I can confirm that.
Yeah. You were like, it's 11 p.m. Why are you still in this Zoom?
I was like, it's 7 p.m. Pacific time. I'm getting tired. I want to put my jammies on.
That is the okay, I'm going to say something actually really radical. That is
I'm here for it.
That is the thing about this work that I love the most is that it feels like self-care. Like it feels like every day I'm doing something radical.
Because you feel it right here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay, settle down.
She's feeling a little bit of something in her eyeballs. Okay.
It's fine.
Mission
Everything's
accomplished. Fine. I think this episode's over.
Yeah. I got to go before these feelings multiply.
Okay, listen, quickly. Yes. If anybody needs to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
So if you want to reach me directly, then you should email me directly. But if you want to reach anyone on the Climb team and get an answer as quickly as possible, which is definitely always faster than reaching me directly, that's a different email. That's cotd@postpartum.net. Or you can email me. That's emilyjn@postpartum.net. Or you can find me on the Facebook and the Instagram and occasionally the TikTok. I'm more of a consumer there than I am a creator.
I don't know.
I like to mess around, but I'm not really there to be innovative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just being yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll drop all those links to everything we talked about in today's episode in the show notes.
Fabulous.
And thank you for sharing with us today, E.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thanks for making me have a feeling. Jeez.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in to the I Am One podcast. Check out today's show notes where we'll drop links to all the important things that we mentioned in this episode. Please consider sharing about our show on social media and following and rating our show wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. It only takes a minute of your time and, well, that'll help with our collective mission of bringing resources and local support to folks worldwide. From everyone here at PSI, thanks again for listening.